Representative Fudge for putting together this special order to talk about voter suppression laws. I was first elected in 1988, and 2 years after that, in 1990, I began a career from that point on up till this very day, fighting against these voter suppression laws. And the reason that I began my career that early is because our now governor of the state of Wisconsin led the effort to require voter ID, very strict forms of voter ID, in order to suppress the votes of certain members, certain populations in the Wisconsin community. And so I am ashamed to announce today, Representative Fudge, that Wisconsin has joined the map of shame, one of 7 states in red here on the map chain that require very stringent voter ID laws in order to be able to vote. I know that having debated this issue for many years, what the basic arguments for this are, and they're all discredited. We have heard arguments such from our governor, who was then a state representative, that you know, if you need a voter ID to buy liquor or to buy medicine or to get a blockbuster video, well, surely you should need a voter ID for something as important as voting. And I think that is demonstrably a problem with that line of thinking. There is no more fundamental right than the right to vote. You don't have the right to drink liquor, Representative Fudge. You don't have the right to get a video from Blockbuster. And shamefully, you don't have a right to health care. You don't have a right to get a prescription drug. But you do have a right to vote. So the bar ought to be extremely high to disenfranchise voters. Now, we are discouraged on this floor and in this House from questioning the motivations for people who offer legislation. And in that same light, I question the motivation of those people who say that we must have this kind of legislation. The Wisconsin Attorney General's office found that in a 2-year election cycle of fraud investigation, that there were 20 instances of possible voter fraud out of 3 million votes cast in 2008, the year that President Barack Obama ran, which is 7/10,000ths of 1%. And not a single one of these cases would have been prevented had the person had a voter ID. You know, if it was a felon who had voted, you know, your driver's license doesn't say felon on it. There was not a single case where a photo ID would have prevented these discrepancies. So I am asked to wonder about the motives of those who have said that we must have this law. And who are they trying to disenfranchise? Well, Madam Ms. Fudge, Congresswoman Fudge, I need to ask you. In the state of Wisconsin, 17% of white men and women don't have this kind of ID. 49% of African American women don't have this kind of ID. 55% of all African American males don't have this kind of ID. 46% of Hispanic men don't have this kind of ID. 59% of all Hispanic women don't have it. 66% of African American women ages 18 to 24 do not have this ID, and 78% of African American males ages 18 to 24 do not have this kind of ID. And in addition to this, there's a cost to getting the paperwork, the underlying paperwork, to get a photo ID. You have to pay $20 for a replacement birth certificate, and in some states, you have to have a photo ID to get a birth certificate. And there are other costs. In Wisconsin, a place where the largest number of these African American and Hispanic men and women who don't have photo ID reside, there is no Department of Motor Vehicle station, Congresswoman Fudge, that is open, has evening hours or weekend hours. So the burden of getting this kind of ID is great. I do realize that I need to yield back my time, but I just want to mention that this would also have a terrible impact on our young college-age student voting population. We have college students that this bill would require that they use a college ID that doesn't exist in the state of Wisconsin. There have been no monies provided for the universities, none of which have this kind of ID, to do it, and it would be a terrible burden on our elderly population who may want to vote absentee and would have to provide a Xerox copy of a photo ID. So for all those elders in Wisconsin who have Xerox machines in their homes, you will be able to vote absentee from your home. With that, I would yield back to Representative Fudge, and thank you for this special order and for this time.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that both my friend Congresswoman Moore and